We are in the zone with Jyll Saskin and Amalia Fowler. This is a regular series I started doing on YouTube and LinkedIn and on the PPC Zone podcast as well, just sitting down and having a conversation with someone I think is really great. And so Amalia definitely falls under the someone I think is really great. We have been besties for quite a few years now. Mm-hmm. And that's something I think people might be surprised to know, because on the surface, we are very similar. We're both Canadian. We're both women. We're both Google Ads coaches. We both do Google Ads audits. We're both marketing instructors. And I'm not even going to say in spite of that. I will say, and because of that, we become really good friends and really great supporters of each other. So in this conversation, our objective here is to have a wide-ranging, unscripted, unfiltered live conversation about Google Ads and running a business and all kinds of things. So if you are watching this live on YouTube or LinkedIn, we want you to feel like you're sitting right here with us. You can feel free to type things into the chat. We'll see it. And we'll just have a little chat today. How does that sound, Amalia?
It sounds great. It's perfect. I feel like I'm re-entering PPC society after 16 months of having disappeared because I have a little one now.
Yes.
Can't think of a better way to start my comeback. That's a weird sentence.
Guess who's back? Back again. Amalia's
as Danny said.
Yes, and we're so happy you are. Now I have to share before we dive in today, my first memory of you. So I left Google in 2021 in like the spring, and in the fall I started wading into PPC chat Twitter, RIP. And I remember there were like 3 people I was totally in awe of. It was you, Anu, and Julie. And I can just say first names for all those 3, and anyone in the community knows what I'm talking about. And I remember I started by, commenting on posts, and then I commented on one of your tweets, and then you responded to me. And I remember I was lying on the couch at home. I sat up and said to my husband, oh my God, Philip, you won't believe what just happened. He's like, what's wrong? I'm like, Amalia Fowler just responded to me on Twitter. And he's like, I don't understand, but are you okay? I'm like, oh, I'm so excited.
I remember the first time you told me this story. I think it was the first time we met in person, because we're across the country. Some people don't know that we're very far apart. We're a 5-hour plane ride and a little bit of a drive away from each other. And the first time you told me that story, I remember being like, that is so cool. So I was like, I have never, and we've talked a little bit about the whole like influencer label, because it's very different than the like social media influencer that people think about when you're in the business world. It's like, I do get brands reaching out to me for collaborations and stuff. There's a level of authenticity there that I don't advertise products I don't use. So it's a very, very small scope. Very short list. But it took a while for me to sink in that like, oh, people actually like pay attention to what I'm saying. And I went to conferences and people would come up to me and be like, oh my gosh, you are Amalia Fowler. And I was like, I am. Like, it takes a while for that to sink in. And now like I literally text you or voice note you multiple times a day. So it's so interesting that we've come from there to here. But I love that story. I love that that's how it started.
It is. And it's interesting now because in my career, I've only started to be on the other side of that over the last year. And I've really seen the difference that now I can relate to it too, where like in November, I went to Hero Conf in San Diego, and I was like, a few people were like, oh yeah, I've seen you on LinkedIn. Yeah. And then I went to Europe for a few conferences in March, and like, that was lovely. And then by the time I went to Google Marketing Live in May and then SMX Advanced in Boston in June, people were coming up to me the way I had been so excited about you. Like someone came up to me at GML at this private barbecue. She was like, oh, are you Jyll Saskin? I'm like, yeah. She's like, oh my gosh, I love your podcast. I listen all the time. And it's just like, me? What? Like it is really cool. And anyway, it's very hard to wrap my head around, and definitely does not go to my head, but it doesn't feel real, like
yes. What? Yes, it's very easy to forget because so much of what we do is online. It's very easy to forget that everything that you put out in the world is actually seen by people. And for me, Twitter was such a great medium because I rapid fire sassy thoughts about Google, Google Ads, about clients, and that seemed to resonate with people. It's a little harder since I'm like I feel more limited by LinkedIn in terms of that sass and authenticity. But that was my peak era, was the PPC chat Twitter era. But even when I started, I was enamored. Like Julie, you mentioned before, I was just like, I can't wait to meet her. And now she's a really good friend. So I love that too. Like it's a big industry. There's a lot of us who could fall into that influencer category, but I'd say 95% of the people I meet are actually just super happy to connect and share ideas and collaborate. And then there's the 5% that we just don't talk about. Yeah. Or block us.
Or the block us.
I don't think it's a coincidence that you and I are both blocked by the same
people.
Group of people.
But I find, especially with the women in our industry, that like most of the women in our industry, like the people you see in your LinkedIn feeds or on podcasts, whatever, like most of us, we're all friends and we all talk to each other and we all help each other out. Like when I went on maternity leave for a year with my second child, I referred every single one of my clients to you. And then when you were on maternity leave, like you referred all of your clients to me. And now we're both back and like, watch out, world. Here we come.
It's true. It's true. And I do think that there is this desire, and maybe, I mean, we're both also educators, so it kind of could fall into this category too, is we enjoy teaching and helping people. And that really comes through in your podcast as well. It's like, you can't wait to share all this information that I think so many others would like keep close. But it's something we enjoy doing. Like when new female PPC practitioners come on the scene, like I see their LinkedIn and I'm like on it, like follow, connect, comment on every post, share anything that I think is super relevant, DM them and be like, hey, welcome to the community. Like if you need anything. And I think that there's a lot of us who have been here for decades now, who are like that, who are like so happy to see, especially new women join the scene. And
I just put in a comment on Nava, another OG, who shares, that we like to be useful influencers versus greedy gurus. I love the alliteration there, Nava. And you are also someone who has lifted me up. So like I've gotten so many opportunities thanks to Nava, whether it's speaking at conferences or brand partnerships. It's like we're all helping each other out because I think, it can be easy, especially in these tough economic times, to have this scarcity mentality of like, well, I need as much business and money for myself as I can get. And I have found it so freeing in my business, just like a rising tide lifts all boats. And so like there are so many people, all genders, who have helped me and mentored me and encouraged me and given me opportunities. And so I see it as part of my obligation as this sort of public figure in our industry, to be very clear, like very much in our industry niche, that like I now need to use that to elevate and support other people. And like, that's really important to me. I mean, I love making money. Don't get me wrong. I love making money and I love clients and course numbers and all these things. But if that was all I was doing at the end of every day, I don't think I would feel as good about my business and my Google Ads obsession. Whereas like launching PPC Zone, bringing people on to my YouTube channel, podcasts, or like that makes me feel good when I can like have someone who was like a brand new speaker at PPC Zone. And then like a year later, they're speaking at HeroConf. Like, that's so cool. We need more of that.
We do need more of that. And I think like the industry can feel very isolating, especially if things are not going, so if you're a freelancer, if you're new, if you don't have you're the only person on a client side account, you have a boss, but not a mentor in the PPC space, it can feel really lonely and feel really isolating. And I tell my students all the time, like this industry comes with the highest highs and the lowest lows. You are never in the middle. You're either having the best day, you're the greatest at your job, you are killing it, you're amazing, or you wake up and you're like, why isn't this working? I'm the worst, I'm terrible. And so in those moments, you really need like a crew to be like, you're actually not terrible. You're actually like, marketing is not life or death. This is going to be fine. But I don't know. I take the responsibility of managing other people's money just very seriously. And I know you do too. And I think that there's issues in the wider industry where there's no regulation, where there's like, it's seen as like, oh, something that's easy to do. And I think a lot of people come in thinking that it's easy because Google and other people tell them it's easy. And, there's a nuance there that is hard to wrap your mind around. So you really need other people in the space to help you out. People don't know what they don't know.
Yes. And I always admire, I have a lot of different kinds of coaching clients, and my people of all, launching their very first campaign, or people who've been doing this for 15 years, in-house, agency, etc. And I've noticed quite a few coaching clients this year who are like fellow Google Ads experts. They know just as much, if not more, about the platform than I do, but they feel this isolation. Many of us do work alone. We're the one Google Ads person at the agency, or the one Google Ads person at the company, or a freelancer or a business owner, like you and I. And they just feel like the change is accelerating. And do I really know what I'm doing? And am I really on the right track? And not everyone has, a network and a group chat and stuff like we've been able to find. And so it's been really interesting for me to see these people coming to me for coaching, not because like their Google Ads skills need work. That's not the only thing, but just for that kind of reassurance and someone to bounce ideas off of. And I really enjoy playing that role. Like one of my clients calls me the PPC therapist. I'm like, I kind of love that because, I understand that. And then like in turn, I get to send you voice notes throughout the day and you get to be my PPC therapist.
Well, vice versa. I mean, I messaged you yesterday about bid strategies. And this is like, I've been in the industry for a decade. I know what I'm doing. I'm actually very proud of the work that I do and I'm good at it. And every once in a while, I'm like, this isn't making sense. Or especially coming off of 16 months of being off, which was a choice that I made that I'm really happy about, but also very intimidating, like stepping back into a world that moves so quickly. Like, it's not like our industry moves at a turtle pace. And I'm just like, am I correct? Like talking into my phone, like, Jyll, is this still the thing that we do in 2025? So I think for anyone watching this who is newer to the industry or who is like only a year in and is like, I feel like I know nothing, like we still have those moments where we feel like we know nothing. And I'd say that that's a very normal thing and it's not going to go away. Sorry. Like it's not going to go away. I would actually argue that if you are convinced you know everything, that you are not self-aware enough.
Amen. So I fully support that. And even I think about that as, I'm just starting to work on my second book about bidding. Not because I think cool. I know the most about bidding or, but just like the process of writing the book, it's kind of selfish in a way because it helps me, give me an excuse to like go really deep on research and talk to different people and put ideas together and shore up my expertise. And so book writing, I mean, it's not for the faint of heart. I can't believe I actually published the dang thing that I'm here to do again. But just the process of going really deep into something and understanding it, even as I know it's constantly changing, is like something I love. And to succeed in this industry, I think that desire to test, to learn, to have humility is so much more important for your long-term success than knowing like, oh, should I use exact match or phrase match and max conversion value versus T ROAS? Like that stuff, those practices are constantly changing and whatever. But there's like a certain mindset that I see in successful PPCers for sure.
I agree. And also that, like going back to do I use this or that, or do I start with exact or phrase? It's so business and context dependent that I really like, oh, it lights a fire under me when someone's like, this is the only way. And it's like, no, the only right way for your client is the way that works for them. And that is not the same. And that's why I get so fired up and angry at the like cookie cutter, like agencies or the cookie cutter courses or the cookie cutter practitioners who are selling like a way of doing things. Yeah. Like you are wrong. And I will die on that hill. Like you are wrong. There are so many different, and here's what, like we operate within the platform and there's so many external factors from like website even, but also like competitor landscape, location, even with the same client, you're operating in BC versus Ontario. You've got, those are different regions with different people, different searchers. And if you're not thinking about that and you're just like copy paste across the board, you're maybe still seeing some base level of success, but you're definitely not as efficient as you could be. There's no way. There's just no way.
I just noticed your shirt, by the way. It depends. I love it.
Thanks.
I absolutely love it.
Someone sent this to me and I forget who it is, so I'm sorry because I would love to say your name, but I forget who sent it to me. But I wear it for my first lecture with all my students every fall. And we talk about what skills like a marketer needs to have and what's the most important thing in marketing. And the answer is it depends because of the context piece. I try and get that from day one, context matters. Not that it sinks into everybody's head, but yeah, I get really frustrated when people act like there's one right path, because there is not one right path. And it does a disservice to businesses that don't know better when we are out there saying there is a singular way of doing things. So yeah, I mean, I'm going to stop because I could just keep going.
Amanda is saying, was it Sarah Stockdale who sent it? She gave me an It Depends dad hat. That's awesome.
No, it wasn't. But I actually went to University of Sarah Stockdale. I know her and love her girl class.
She's Canadian, right?
She is Canadian.
Yeah, Canada.
Yeah. But I love that she gave you a hat.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, I want to pivot a little bit into Google Ads because we do talk about a lot of our accounts together and what we're seeing. And so if you're willing, I was wondering if you could share this account you're working with that has such amazing results that we were like all worried that something was wrong. And it turns out nothing's wrong. You're just getting effing amazing results for this client. Are you able to share a little bit of what happened there?
Yeah, I can share a little bit about what happened. I'm like mentally running through all the contracts that I have, and I'm just like, is there anything that prevents you from sharing? No. But they're in the tourism and hospitality space. They're actually a client. My point of contact, I worked with an agency 5 or 6 years ago. She moved to a different company and came to me, which was really cool feeling like that circled back. Oh, I was like, yes, I did something right. But we launched a new account, and the CPCs were all under $2, brand and non-brand, taking brand out of the discussion because it's a unique situation. But the non-brand campaign, like we're talking low budget, we're talking $65 a day total. So 50 for the non-brand campaign, 3 ad groups, not like a non-competitive space. Like you've got major players, you've got the like TripAdvisors and Expedias in there. Like this is not a space where there's no competition. And the CPCs were like $1.18, I think, when I first reached out to you.
Which again, like unheard of in this day and age.
I don't even think it was heard of when I started a decade ago. Like, I don't think non-brand was that low. Like, I'd heard of the good old days. Like, it felt like a harken back to a time that I was not a part of. So my immediate reaction was, what did I do wrong?
Which, can I just point out, by the way, not that you don't have confidence in yourself, but I would do the same thing. I'd be like, these results, I'm not that good. I'm good, but like, I'm not that good. What's wrong?
Well, it's just like, I'm like, if I was auditing this for someone else, and I think, and we can talk about this later, but I think there's a lot of confirmation bias when you're looking at your own accounts. It's really hard to step out of yourself and objectively see something. So I try to be as objective as possible. And so this launched and it's doing so well. The ROAS of the brand campaign is like 190. And then the ROAS of this non-brand is like $6. And I'm like, what? They've never run, like, well, they were running an account before, but had no conversion tracking. So like, we don't actually know what was happening before. And the CPC in the old account was almost $5. So I was like, I don't understand. I'm like, did I have display network check? Did I have search network in there? Did I accidentally put on AI Max? Did I like make all the keywords brand and not turn off that site? Like where, or broad, is there a brand keyword in there? I was like checking all of the things and nothing. So I post on LinkedIn and I'm like, what am I missing? Wider hive mind. Help me figure out where I screwed up.
And then a lot of suggestions, right?
Yep. Some of them were really great. And some of them were things I'd already looked at. And then I was like, Jyll, look at this, please, because like I'm going crazy. And what we actually found was all those non-brand keywords just have a quality score of 10 out of 10.
Yeah. And it was just like, it was so beautiful. I wish I could frame it, Amalia. I see a lot of Google Ads accounts in a week, as you do as well. And just seeing this as someone who's not managing it like you are, like core non-brand keywords, 10 out of 10, 10 out of 10, 10 out of 10. And just to put that into perspective for folks, so with quality score, there's like the 3 key components: expected CTR, ad relevance, landing page experience. So like ad relevance is the one you can control and like above average, fine. Expected CTR is the one you sort of medium can control, whatever. Landing page experience is like kudos to your client because we really have no control over that as practitioners. It is so rare to see above average landing page experience.
I know.
it was just fascinating to see that. So then when we were looking, like, it was so validating actually for me, because I'm someone who really advocates for a quality score focused. And I know there's some practitioners who are like, oh, it doesn't matter, it's just a diagnostic tool. I'm like, no, it's not foundational. And so seeing this, it's like true, your ad rank is your bid times your quality score. And the higher the quality, the less you have to pay. And this account was just like, beautiful proof of that with this super high quality score, with ads people wanted to engage with, and a landing page that loaded quickly and converted well, you know, you and the business are providing the perfect experience for Google's customers and our audience. And in return, Google is sending everyone your way. And anyway, so beautiful.
I mean, I did immediately email my client, was like, I know you're working on a web redesign, like maybe not, maybe don't do that, please stop. So we'll see, they're probably gonna still do it, because we're information givers, don't shoot the messenger, and then the clients will do what they do. But I think there's this narrative going around, this like also runs counter to this narrative that I've seen, that like Google's trying to push spend away from search, and Google's trying to like eliminate, like it'll be good for a month because it's a new account, but then it's gonna not be good after that. And like, it's been more than a month now. And listen, when we first started hanging out and talking, I was very anti-Google. I was over here, you were over there. We had a debate.
Yeah,
we had a live
debate. On YouTube.
It is still on YouTube for anyone who's interested. Very outdated information, but and that's why I think at the beginning you said it might surprise people to know that we're friends, because we did start on these like other opposite sides of the spectrum. And I am, you know, a harsh Google critic. I'm never going to get invited to Google Marketing Live, I'm convinced, because all I do is
never say never,
talk crap about Google. But in this particular instance, I actually, like, I don't think there's some nefarious, like, underscored agenda. Am I frustrated by a lot of what Google does? Yes. Do I think that there's room for improvement? Yes. Does the wording in the platform misguide advertisers or like business owners who don't know better? 100%. But are they sitting there like, we're going to screw up this campaign's search results so that this campaign that's spending $50 a day, we're going to mess up their search results so that they like use PMAX? No, I don't think. Like, they don't, so many better things to do over there.
It's true. And like, as complicated as Google Ads is getting in the platform, the bells and the whistles and whatever. And like this morning, Mike Ryan actually did a great free webinar about PMAX reporting and controls and how that's changed recently. So folks should definitely look that up if you missed it. But, you know, PMAX isn't even like a black box anymore. And so on the one hand, it's like, yay, we have so much more control over PMAX than we used to. But on the other hand, like the whole point of PMAX was just like, give us your money and your conversion tracking and your goal, and we'll give you results, whether it did that or not, you know. And that's just gone now. Like, it was supposed to make things easier. It's made things way more complicated. Google Ads is more complicated than it's ever been. However, I actually think, and this isn't an original idea, you know, I actually think that as there's more AI and more complexity and all this stuff, like the fundamentals matter more than ever. And in a way, it's like on the one hand, the platforms and the mechanisms are getting so much more complicated. But on the other hand, like, do you understand who your target customer is? Do you have an offer that appeals to them? Are you communicating it well to them? Like, that hasn't changed at all. And I think sometimes we can lose sight of that when it's like, oh, try this 7-part framework and here's the hack to show up in AI overviews. It's like, no, just like have a really good offering and know who needs it and communicate it well. And then like you will be successful. I don't know. Maybe I'm being too glib.
No, I don't think you are, because, and this again, maybe where the educator in me is coming out, because I teach digital marketing to students, not all of whom will do digital marketing. So I walk this line of like enough information so that those who go into the field really have what they need to start, but like not so much that those who are going to go into like traditional advertising or creative side of things, like that they are just like bored to death with the minutia. And one of the things we talk about is exactly what you said. It's like, I emphasize so much that message match, like everything from the query to the keyword to the ad to the landing page has to work together, and that will never change. That will never change. And the audit I was finishing yesterday, that was their main issue. It's like everything else was great. Everything, for once, all the settings in the account were set up perfectly. And so I was worried that I wasn't going to have anything to say to this person, but it was very clear from the click-through rate in the account, from the search impression share in the account, that something was up with the keyword and ad on this side. And then it was clear from the conversion rate on the site that something was up over there. And I think we get so locked into like the platform, the frameworks, that we forget these are real people clicking on an ad. I would never click on an ad. Well, you're not my 71-year-old mother, are you? Because she definitely clicks on them all the time. So it's like the average person,
wrong, right? No one's been like, oh yeah, I click on ads all the time. I'm sorry, you do. Otherwise, these companies wouldn't be multi-billion-dollar companies. Like,
yeah, and even if you personally don't, and that's where that confirmation bias comes in, which is something that I think we're all really bad at navigating. It's like, even if you don't in the times that you remember, it doesn't mean that millions of people also don't. I think it's something that comes up in our industry. Also something is like a parallel to parenting, where everyone's like, there's only the one way to do it, and I do it the best way, or my opinion is the one that like matters. And that's just not how it works.
It's just not how it works at all. Yeah. So we have a question here in the chat from Gurab, who wants to start their own marketing agency and wants to know where to start. So although neither you nor I run marketing agencies, you know, we both have businesses that we've built based on personal brand building. And so I thought it would be interesting for us to talk about that. You alluded to earlier how for you really grew to prominence on Twitter, and like that was a platform where you felt very comfortable. And now a lot of the industry is like shifted to LinkedIn and YouTube as well. And that's somewhere that is newer for you. So maybe we can both talk. I know we've talked about this privately. We'll talk about it publicly.
Yeah, why not?
Content strategies and how we think about that in supporting our businesses. So maybe I can go first since I brought it up. Is like something that I started doing that's been way more successful than I thought was starting my podcast. I started it a year and a half ago on a whim, as usually happens when you run your own business. Oh, I'll start a podcast today. And for the first 5 months of putting out a weekly podcast, like crickets, it felt like talking into the void. And then I got my first client who says they found me from my podcast. And then I got another, and then I got another. And then by about month 8, it really snowballed because I record my podcast as a video and it all goes on YouTube. I started really growing on YouTube. And so now most of my business comes from my podcast or my YouTube or my podcast on YouTube or my blog posts, which I create from the transcripts of my podcast. And like that's entirely driving my business now. Whereas 2 years ago, most of my business came from like TikTok, and I just left this week. So I have found podcasting to be really valuable, but it's like most podcasts don't continue after the 3rd episode. So it's a commitment, that's for sure. But that's what's been a big focus for me. I'm curious for you how you're thinking about, especially coming back from being on maternity leave, where like you were not creating as much content as usual for the last year. So how are you sort of thinking about where to put your time and energy from like a content perspective?
I mean, that's a great question. I don't know yet. I'll let you know.
You'll let me know.
But having worked in agency for like a decade before starting my own thing, I think like having both sides of the coin here when it comes to where to start, which it's like you have to have content of some sort in our space. Like running ads for yourself is not gonna get you the leads that you want. I think really thinking about, it's like any other business starting, like thinking about who you want to serve. Like Jyll and I both serve small businesses. We both serve in like, I like to say I operate in this niche between do it yourself and hiring an agency. So it's like, I do a lot of custom plans for businesses. So I do a lot of like, you want to run ads, but you don't want to hire an agency. Okay, I'll train your team. We'll meet once a month. It'll cost you like $250. And then, because a lot of the clients I serve don't need hands-on all the time. So I think you have to know who you're talking to. And then like anything else, you have to know where they are. So LinkedIn is like a place where both of us are. I would say most recently, the majority of my clients have actually come from Reddit and listening to me on podcasts, to be honest. I just had someone email me and be like, I binge listened to any podcast you were on. Can I hire you? And so where you put yourself online, and then it comes down to time. Like you have to be patient. If you don't already have a built-in audience, you have to build that audience. Like you said, you heard crickets for 5 months, and owned properties are always going to be better in my book than non-owned properties. So a site, a blog, an email list. The podcasts aren't technically owned properties, but they very rarely get taken down.
Right. Yeah.
And so there is that like longevity to it. But I'd say that's where I'd ask about starting.
Yeah.
I know I've had my podcast idea in the back of my head for like 6 years. Should probably just do it. That's something you're very good at. And I will say, if you're starting something, do the thing. Have a minimal viable product. Don't be like me and get stuck in the perfectionism cycle of like, it has to be perfect before I release it. Because Jyll is much better at that than I am. I'm working on something this week and I texted Jyll and I was like, oh, I'm going to like go get the mail. And she was like, aren't you supposed to be working on this thing that you said you're going to work?
Leave like, the mail, work on the dang thing.
I'll just sit down and do it.
Well, as well. I know like getting started with content creation can feel very overwhelming. And so the advice I give to as well, if you're starting your own marketing agency or your own business or whatever, and you want to create clients, but the idea of like just posting on LinkedIn or just starting a YouTube channel feels like way too overwhelming, then I always say like join existing conversations before starting new ones. And the analogy is like if you were to show up at a dinner party full of strangers, you wouldn't just walk to the center of the room and be like, hello, I'm Jyll Saskin and I'm starting a marketing agency. Like no one would want to work with you. It's like, no, you walk up to a group of people who are already having a conversation, you listen, and then you add your 2 cents. And then, you know what I mean? And you get more comfortable and then you make plans with them next time. And so similar, like commenting on other people's posts, reposting, but like with your thoughts, like these are great ways to get started in a video world, like stitching or duetting a video rather than doing your own from scratch. These are all great ways to get started and just add something valuable. Like the other thing I like to say is like, if what you're going to say, someone else could say the exact same thing, there's no point in you saying it. You know, you need to bring a unique perspective. You do not need to be the top expert. You do not need to be the most well-spoken. You do not need to be the smartest. You do not need to be the most confident. But you do need to have original ideas. Otherwise, like AI can replace you.
Well, what I was just going to say, because you said add something valuable, is like, please do not. There's 2 things that you should absolutely not do. I'm sure there's more, but these are the 2 that popped into my head. 1, do not use AI to comment because it's so easily identifiable. And I don't know. I block them all. I just block them. It's not adding any value. I don't want you on my feed. I don't want to see your content. And then the second thing is please do not copy and paste other people's posts because that happens a lot. Like repost with your own thoughts on top. But you and I have both had our stuff just copied and pasted and posted. And then they tag us in it as if that's
credit.
Okay.
Like, no, that's not okay.
That's not how this works. So those are the 2 things I'd say don't do. And back to the beginning of our conversation where we talk about like how we're so welcoming to people who are coming into the industry. Just do it. Not sure why it's Nike's slogan and not Jyll's.
Thank you, Danny.
Very true, Danny. But if you're just starting, like find someone who operates a business similar to the one that you want to do and ask if you can buy them a coffee. That's it. Like even online, you can send someone a $10 Starbucks gift card electronically. And like, I know I can think of 4 or 5 different agency owners who would be happy to sit down for 20 minutes. You're buying them a coffee to have that conversation, and don't be afraid to reach out to those people. Like we said, like most people in the space are pretty welcoming.
They are, but I would say to a point, like I get a lot of people who reach out to me, ask me just to chat. And like, I'm at the point now where I can't just have a chat with anyone. You know what I mean? My entire day will be filled with just have a chat. So coming referred by someone I know, or like, if you're someone who's engaged with my content a lot and who also to the point, like I recognize your name, like it actually happened today. There's 2 different people who DM me on LinkedIn today. I do not know either one in person, but I recognize their names because I know them in online spaces. And so they asked me things and I responded. But like if I have a stranger who I don't know drop into my DMs and ask me something, I try to always respond. They'll be like, great, I'll add that at the time to answer an upcoming podcast episode. You know,
I think how you ask and how you approach matters a lot. Like I've definitely gotten DMs where it's like, oh, you said you're open to conversations, be my mentor. And it's like, that's a lot of work. And also like it's the same with any client you're trying to woo through advertising. Like, don't ask them to marry you on the first date is the reference I use with my students. It's like, this is a get to know you moment, the first point of contact between a customer and a business. It's the same thing online. Like if you demand something, that's not going to go over very well. But I I usually at least make time to respond via DM if someone's like, hey, I'm trying to start my own thing. I really love how you've gotten better. Or I watched the live you did with Jyll and I like loved what you said about this. Do you have any tips for XYZ? Like I will give you a message back because that's a very respectful way to approach things. And even if you can't sit down and have coffee with somebody, watching how those people operate online. Like if I think about if I think about agency owners, like I think about Kirk Williams, Colin Slattery, Dwayne Brown, like follow them on LinkedIn, like start to surround yourself with the people who are doing the thing that you're interested in doing. And then go from there, like watch what they're doing. Don't copy it. That's plagiarism, but watch what they're doing and learn from it. Like, I think that's something I did in the very beginning back in the Twitter days was, what are these people doing? Like, how can I enter the conversation without making it all about me?
We're getting lots of questions here, which is lovely. I'm going to bring them out of order, but just
okay.
So LinkedIn sometimes doesn't show the name. So sorry, I don't know who said this on LinkedIn, but original ideas is interesting. We all operate with the same set of information. So how original can you really be?
When you said add something original, I was like, oh, I don't know if I agree, but I didn't say it out loud.
Please disagree with me. I'll give you an example here, okay?
Okay.
One of my best ever LinkedIn posts and YouTube videos is when I posted about AI Max. And full disclosure, I was on a list of people who was invited to hear that news in advance under NDA. And I say that to say I released the news at the same time it was public, but like I had a few days head start to think about it. So like unfair advantage, okay? But even with that, everyone has the same set of information. Hey, AI Max, and I knew that our feed was going to be full, everyone. AI Max, new campaign type, here's what you need to know, blah, blah, blah. And so when I was thinking about what am I going to say about AI Max, I was thinking about like what's unique, what's helpful, what's original, what's my perspective. And I knew because Search Max had been news for so many months that like everyone was sharing misinformation and everyone was like missing the plot. And so my angle was like, here's what everyone's getting wrong about AI Max and what this really means. Again, I had the same information that 15 to 20 other influencers got in advance, but then we all got the same, everyone ended up with the same news release. We all had the same information, but I picked an angle that I thought was going to be helpful and stand out from the cacophony. And it did. That post got 100,000 impressions. Like I actually think it's my top post ever on LinkedIn. And it's the one that's driven my 100% subscriber growth in the last 90 days on YouTube is that about AI Max, because I was not just regurgitating, well, here's what it is. And here's the list of features. And here's when it's compatible. And here's where it's launching. Everyone else said that. What I said was like, it's not a new match type and it's not a new campaign type and it's not actually revolutionary. Here's what it's more similar to. And that was unique. So that's one example of how you can have the same set of information as a lot of other people, but you have your own unique experience and perspective. And that's what's interesting. And that's what's going to cut through.
Well, and that's what I was going to say is I think you said original ideas, but what you maybe meant, and I don't want to speak for you, is like original perspective or original angle, because
that's a better way to put it.
It's like a different way of thinking about it, because like I said, we all have our own ideas, experience, and like way of coming at things. Like nobody else I know in our space, and I could be wrong. If you're out there, I'd like to have a coffee, is a PPC influencer and a professor at college at the same time. Like I teach September through April full time. And then I'm also doing my business and the PPC stuff. And I was a manager in agency for so many years. Like that trifecta has given me such a unique point of view that I often just like write from my experience, and that happens to make it original because nobody else sits in that same intersection. So I think that's probably more on the lines of like what you meant.
Yeah, a unique perspective. Exactly. And look, if you want to be someone who shares the news, there are some people who do that very well and build I'm not knocking that. I'm just saying for me personally, the way I've wanted to build my own consultancy and coaching. And again, like I share content because I enjoy sharing the content, but also it drives my business. I get clients from this stuff. I get course members. I sell audits. I sell books, And so if someone is going to take their hard-earned dollars and transfer it to me without ever having met me, because I don't do free intros, I need to build trust and establish my expertise. And so having that unique perspective is how I do that.
And I will say, just on the topic of the people who share the news, like in our industry, like I couldn't live without you. So just please keep doing that, because I don't have time to curate all of that stuff.
Exactly. And so I know this morning I posted about a sponsored content deal I did, and Adrian Decker responded. He has like hundreds of thousands of LinkedIn followers. He has a totally different business model than I do, right? And so like I love getting news from him, and I know he'll sometimes comment on my posts and find them interesting. And like there's room for all of us. And there's so many different ways to build a business in this space beyond like managing clients and managing accounts is absolutely needed, but there's also tons of other ways to make money in this space.
And going back to the question about building an agency, honestly, you will set yourself apart if you respond to emails in a timely manner. I wrote about that in my newsletter this year.
Yes. It's so true.
Just answers, not starting from scratch. I worked at Google for like 6 years and I'm still managing accounts, but I want to start my own thing. Perfect. Then you're on the right track.
I worked at Google for 6 years too. Honestly, as an ex-Googler, it is a huge leg. I mean, at this point, I left Google 4.5 years ago. So like, I did work there. I do have that insider perspective. I still work very closely with Google. I do trainings at Google and all kind of stuff. But it's like, yeah, if you want to start your own thing, go get clients. And like different strokes work for different folks. Like I have another friend who worked at Google and left, and he posted on Upwork and ended up building like a 6-figure Google Ads freelancing business purely off of Upwork. Whereas for me, when I tried posting on Upwork and Fiverr, I did not get a single client. Like for whatever reason, like that didn't work for me. For me, putting out tons of free content works for me to grow my business. But to him, he was like, oh gosh, that's a lot. I don't want to do that. Like, fair enough. So there's a lot of different ways to build your business and to start your business. But I do want to come back to something you said earlier, Amalia, which is like picking up focus. Like it's much easier for someone to hire like a Google Ads specialist for healthcare businesses, for example, rather than just, oh, I do Google Ads. And it doesn't mean you have to pick one niche and be stuck there forever. But first, it's like, well, e-com or lead gen. Well, you can do both, but most people don't do both.
I get leads for, I can do e-com. I hate it. I hate Merchant Center. I would be miserable. Why make myself miserable when I get to pick my clients? Like my thing is I love lead gen businesses. I love small lead gen businesses that are growing. One of my favorite client stories is they quit their job. They started their own business, and I got to help them hire their first employee. And I got to get them so where their wife could quit her business or her job and start working in the business. And like that growth as a partner is something that I feel so satisfied in serving those people and that niche and startups too. But like hand me an e-com client and I'm miserable. I can do it. I've done it before, but now I just refer them to people I know will do a good job because I just don't want to. And
let's
so
talk about that, because that's something, that I think is also really important in building a business is like saying no and having boundaries and not saying yes to every opportunity. And so I'm curious if you're able to share a bit more detail about a time when you like knew a client wasn't a good fit or an opportunity wasn't a good fit and like how you said no.
Yeah. So I will start by saying that it is a position of privilege for me to be able to say no. It definitely was not like that at the beginning. I said yes to everything because I was trying to build my reputation and my bank account for the business. So I am in a really comfy spot where I have a full-time job that if my business made no money, my family would still be fine. So just getting that like privilege disclaimer out of the way. I think it was Kirsty Hulse who said like opportunities have to be 2 of 3 things for her. They have to be fun. They have to make her a lot of money, or it has to be something new where she's going to learn something. And I have taken that advice where I can't remember where I saw it from her, but her stuff's amazing, where it's got to be 2 of the 3 things. So if it's fun and I'm going to learn something, sometimes I do something for free. Even though like not work in an account, but like a speaking opportunity or going to talk to students. If it's fun and I'm going to make a lot of money, great. Ideally, it's all 3, but I will kind of filter it into that bucket. I also screen clients a lot more than you do. So people can just book with you, and that doesn't exist with me. Like it has to come through partially because I don't have the time and partially because I think after 10 years in agency, I've gotten really good at being like, you and I are not going to click. So I just say no. Yeah, no is a full sentence. I don't just type the word no in an email and send it. Like I'm not that rude, but I will say, I don't think this is a great fit for me right now. And if I think that someone else could benefit from it, I will be like, do you want a referral? But there are times where I don't do that because I'm not going to refer. If someone's not going to be a good fit because I think they're going to be terrible to work with, I'm not going to be like, here, other person in the industry, please take this terrible person. So yeah, I just say no, but
yeah,
it is a vibe after so many years. There's the obvious no's that like, it isn't the right business fit. Like it's e-commerce or it's, I don't particularly love B2B lead gen. I do it, but I don't particularly love B2B lead, like those types of things. The person's wonderful, but it's just the content that I don't want to work with. Or sometimes they shouldn't be doing Google ads at all. And I do not feel ethical taking their money when I think it's the wrong move for their business, even if they don't agree with me. And sometimes they want services I don't offer. And then sometimes it's just like, I get on a call with them and I'm like, you and I are not going to vibe. And I don't have time to not vibe with my clients. So I genuinely love meeting with my clients. Like they're all stellar people doing really cool things. And I genuinely, like, if I don't have that feeling, I just like will pass on an opportunity. But again, I have the luxury of doing that on a regular basis.
Yeah. For me, when I first started my business, I went from Google salary to zero. So like I needed to just make money. I said yes to every single opportunity. 6 months after leaving Google, I'd managed to match my salary, but I was effing miserable. And like I said yes to this client that I knew was going to be horrible, and they were horrible. And look, I'm sure if you heard their side of the story, they'd say I'm horrible. Fair enough. But the point was that's when I knew I needed to get out of Google Ads management into coaching. And it's interesting you mentioned that I'll hop on the call with anyone, because for me, the boundary I put in my business that's been so helpful is like, I don't do free intro calls. I don't do free consultations. It's like, you want me on a call, you pay for it. And people try to get me to break this boundary all the time. And initially I get it. Like most people don't operate that way. So they'll be like, oh no, like I don't want to pay for an hour. I just want to like hop on a quick call. And so at first I'll be, I completely understand. You know, I have my podcast and my YouTube and my newsletter, my, you know, like listen, if you're welcome to test my expertise and then book a paid call with me when you're ready. And the good clients, they do. And then the ones who would not be a good fit, they don't. And that's fine. And I'm not trying to say like, not everyone can afford that. That's fine. If you can't afford me, then why would I give you a free intro call when you still can't afford me? And then on the flip side, it leads to some really great opportunities. Like this one client, I'm working on a really cool project now where they booked the 1 hour with me. Didn't even want to use the full hour. That was the intro call they wanted for context. They wanted an audit on their account, ginormous account. Like I actually said to their face, they were like, how much would it cost you to audit this? And I was like, oh, it'd be like 5 figures. They're like, okay. And I was like, no, I don't think you understand. I don't want to audit this account. Like it was just so big. I didn't want to do it. To your point, like not fun, money amazing, don't want to do it. But I pivoted and I was like, what if instead we do this other thing? And so we came up with something different that I would enjoy doing and be able to add a lot of value, and they would enjoy, which was, we're calling it an opportunity audit. So I'm working on it right now. So far I'm enjoying it. This may turn into a new offering I have. It may not. But the point is like price wasn't an issue there. He was willing to pay me a ton of money to do something I just didn't want to do. But on the flip side, I knew this was a good client to work with because he wasn't trying to get free work out of me. He paid me for the hour we met. And yeah, or like another client I have now, I think we went back and forth 4 times with them being like, I don't think you understand, Jyll. I just want to have a meeting first. And I'm like, no, I don't think you understand. I don't do that. But you know what? They paid and we met and it's great. And yeah. And so again, now I do feel like, similar to what you said, like I am in this position of privilege where I have new leads coming in every single day. I don't have to do the free intro calls. But that's something that has like really protected my peace, is not having to, because I do so much for free already that like, yeah, anyway.
I didn't mean that you like meet with anyone. Don't jump into Jyll's DMs, everybody. But just like, it's a very different system that you have from me. I don't want appointments just appearing on my calendar, like paid or not. Like, I think I just get like, I just don't like when people do that. So I do it by email. Now, if I had the volume, I think that you do, I would probably behave differently. And I like the paid like call it as a buffer. I actually met
I don't
with an
do
accountant
management,
once
right? I'm
who
not
did it
looking
that
for
way.
ongoing management clients like you are. But like this morning, I was on the treadmill while watching Mike Ryan's webinar, and I got a notification that someone booked a coaching call with me, and I was like,
"That's so cool."
Boom,
But just to be clear,
$350. That's nice.
I don't do month to month usually. So month to month is very gatekept in my business. Like I do audits and I do coaching calls and I'll do training. And if the audit goes well and if the implementation goes well, because sometimes they'll then pay me to implement, I consider bringing them on as a monthly client, because I really only have room for 2 or 3 before when September rolls around. Like for me, it's also not fair to my clients because September through April, I'm a lot more of a ghost. My full-time job and my full-time focus is my students. So I don't have the capacity. So it's actually unfair for me to take month-to-month clients that I know I can't work with. So I think I have 3. I should know how many I have. I think I have 3 right now. All smaller, all like lower routine, but like important people to me or important clients that I did the work with. And like, they don't have another option, or I know that I would do it the best, or I'm really attached to the setup. Like, so like that. I find month to month stressful though, because things are going great until they're not. And then you have to fix it. Whereas project-based work, it's like fixing it and then have a nice day, go off into the wind, enjoy your
dev, right? Like if you have a few month-to-month clients, people who are engaged, then like that, you don't need to be spending as much time on, whereas like for you and I in our business, it's a lot more of these project-based services. So you do need to be working on that. So it's just different people prefer different ways.
And I also work, I don't know if you work in this space actually, but I also work a lot with agencies. So I'll cover illnesses or leaves or like, and this isn't something I really advertise, but I think one of the big gaps for agencies is like they have an influx of work, but they don't have enough people yet, or they have someone who is sick or going on mat leave and they really need just an extra hand, or a vacation, like they're all going on vacation and to like someone's wedding or whatever, but they need someone just to make sure things don't break while they're gone. Like I do that March through September a lot of the time. So, but that's not something that, it's not like on my website. It's just a thing that word of mouth or in knowing the people I know in the industry. But I like that work.
On the flip side too, is like I know a lot of people in the industry who do white labeling, what's called, for agencies. And it's like the agencies don't post the opportunities and people don't post that they white, but it's it's who it's those connections, and those connections are built like these LinkedIn and Twitter and whatever.
On social media and at conferences.
Now we've had a question here from Clint, which is more of like a Google Ads question. That's why I was saving it, Clint. So he says, how do you two feel that AI Max and dynamic responsive will help optimize for quality score? Because if Google looks at the landing page, understands intent and context, why wouldn't they provide a good responsive ad that's going to have a good ad relevance and good quality score? Does quality score matter in this scenario where Google provides the answer to 2/3 of the quality score question? Well, let me see if I agree with your premise, Clint. Does Google provide 2/3? There's expected CTR, which you are still providing the building blocks to AI. Like you're still writing the pieces of your ad. You're not choosing the targeting. So it's like you're not choosing who sees your ad in the same way, but like you are still creating the ad. Ad relevance, I guess that one's fully in Google's hands. And then landing page experience, right, is still in the advertiser's hand or the business's hand.
I think it's like 1.5, half, 1.5 out of 3.
1.5.
I think it comes back though to what I heard you say the other day that I love and like have repeated 1,000 times, which is AI just raises the floor. Like it puts everyone, like I think it will help with quality score to a point, but that point, then everyone's equal here. So you still need to distinguish yourself with that landing page, with that experience, with that whole storyline that we talked about earlier. Yeah. And so that would be my answer.
It's the average maker. I say AI brings up the really terrible people to be average, but it can also bring you down to average if you just rely on AI for everything. Yeah. And so with AI, I mean, your landing page is more important than ever. It's always been important and it continues to be important. And even I would say something like your conversion tracking and your bid strategy, like you control those those things haven't really changed for the last 5 years, at least, I'll call it. But I know you see this too, Amalia. The number of small business owners we'll meet who like don't have conversion tracking properly set up, or don't have the bid strategy that's suited to their goals. Like all the AI Max in the world can't succeed if you choose the wrong bid strategy, or if you choose the right bid strategy and the wrong conversion actions.
Well, ChatGPT notoriously, apparently, based on my anecdotal experience, pops out terrible recommendations for bid strategies, because I came back from mat leave like officially 23 days ago. I have since audited 4 accounts. 4. That's 4 in 23 days, where the person was like, I asked ChatGPT for advice on how to optimize and nothing is going well. And every single one, it comes down to bid strategy.
Is it recommending manual, or is it recommending like TROAS?
One was manual. One was max conversion value, but the conversions had no value assigned to them in the account. But ChatGPT doesn't know that. So like, just like circling back to the question, It's like AI is going to be that average maker, but it's not always right either. And I am one of the, I guess, hangups from my like anti-Google era, and definitely something where I'm in the more control end of the spectrum, is whenever Google puts out anything new, especially for small businesses, especially for lead gen, I let everyone else figure it out first. I'm not testing AI Max. I'm not testing, like I didn't do it with PMax either. I'm not texting my clients $50 a day on these newer things, because so often the ad account is crucial to their business. And I feel like where an agency that has hundreds of accounts, or something like, Optimizer, where they have access to all the data that they can do this type, it's like, I'm waiting for that information to then make a decision of whether or not to bring it to my clients. And I just think that's kind of the responsible thing to do and don't get me wrong, I have clients that spend like $100,000 a month, and I'll be like, hey, there's this new thing. I don't know what it's going to do, but do you want to throw, 10 grand at it this month and see what happens? Like, I'll bring that to them. But I feel like it's kind of irresponsible to do when someone only has X dollars to spend.
It reminds me, I'm just planning now my first podcast episode for April. It's going to be episode 80. And I've been
April?
August. That's
okay. I was like, you plan that far ahead?
I planned far in advance, not that far in advance. No, for August. And one of the questions I'm answering is, someone commented this on one of my TikTok videos, and I thought it was so great. They're like an agency managing ads for a client. And I was saying how, we've been talking about automation is endgame. You should try to get automation working. They're like, I agree, but my clients don't. I try explaining it to them, and they say, I'm not going to pay Google to learn. They should already know. And I've been thinking about that nonstop, because it's like, I so empathize with the sentiment, but also it's completely wrong. And I know you and I were also texting about this yesterday. Mm-hmm. And so this conversation has me thinking about that as well. It's like, Google does know a lot of things, but you need to bring your business to it so it can personalize it for your situation. And the point you just made here, which is like, AMX is brand new. It's still in beta technically. It's going to be crappy sometimes and good other times. So like, no harm in waiting a year before turning it on, because AI Max will get better over the next year. Just like PMax was like hot garbage when it first came out. I'm much more pro PMax. I mean, look, I have my team automation shirt going on. I'm much more pro PMax now than I was when it came out in 2022. But like, that took time, and Google's algorithms learned on advertiser dollars. So no problem holding off on it. Does it mean that I would advise burying your head in the sand and only doing SCAGs and exact match manual CPC? Like, no. But there are lots of different degrees of leveraging AI for bidding, for targeting, for creative an account.
And coming back to that question about like, well, if Google's taking care of 2/3 of it, and we kind of decided it's like half that they're taking care of, it may shift the importance of quality score a little bit. We don't know. But there's still that general sentiment when it comes to anything Google, anything automation, which is garbage in, garbage out. You give it poor information, it is not going to do its job. Like back to the client I had who had max conversion value as their bidding strategy. And we're like, why isn't it working? Well, because you're not giving it a value for the conversions. Like you're not giving it the information it needs to succeed. And no shade on my client. They didn't know what they didn't know. They went to ChatGPT, which apparently also didn't know. And it's like, then they have to end up paying money to like go back to that space, which for them, they're just running their own account. But I really worry about our industry as a whole when someone is not experienced, decides to start an agency or start offering PPC services and is relying on ChatGPT, is relying on the AI and those businesses that they work with. Like there's an ethical thing there for me. So I do beg people to like work in an account, even just be upfront, be like, I don't know what I'm doing. Can I like, but do you want free help or do you want low cost help? Like I'll learn as I go. Just being transparent about your experience level, because it's the Wild West out there sometimes. And I don't think it's getting better. I think we're kind of going into this space where AI drives so much and there's so much good about it and there's so much bad about it. And it's a kind of unknown, which is one of the things I love about our industry, to be honest.
It's true. Something I've been thinking about that I haven't put into words yet. So we'll see if this lands or not. But it's like, me as a Google Ads practitioner, when I try to ask Gemini or ChatGPT something, it's like laughably wrong. But I might ask it a legal question and I'm like, oh, that seems legit. But go to a lawyer. If a lawyer asks ChatGPT a legal question, they're going to see that and say, oh, this is so wrong. But they may ask it for website copy and be like, wow, this is great website copy. And then go to a copywriter, right? And they'll look at that website copy and say, this is terrible. But, oh, it's actually good for my plumbing issue, and on and on. So it's like, I try to remind myself that the things that I'm an expert in, I know it gets so much wrong. So when I'm looking up things I'm not an expert in, seems legit, but I have to remind myself like, oh, let me go to the source and double check all this. Cause I know how, like, even it does not understand in Google Ads, if I'm talking about a demand gen campaign, that is a campaign type. And I'm not talking about demand generation.
Yeah, it doesn't know the difference. And this is something I talk to my students about, because like they use ChatGPT all the time and we tell them not to, they do it anyways. But I give them the example of like, I'll use it for meal planning sometimes because it's an area of weakness in my life. And especially to feed my 1-year-old, like I'm like, what do I feed him that hits all the food groups? And it gave me a muffin recipe. And the only reason I knew that this muffin recipe wouldn't work is because I'm a baker. And because I looked at it and was like, these things are not going to go together in a way that it creates a soft, mushy muffin that a 1-year-old can eat. And I use that example with my students because like, I only know that because I know about baking. And so if you're trying to do assignments for something that you are learning for the first time, you are going to end up wrong more than you're going to end up right. And so like, I don't know if that'll get through.
Whether or not you use AI, right? But at least if you didn't use AI and you tried to do research and understand, you'll learn through that process. Yeah. Oh man. Well, I am very grateful to you, Amalia, for being willing to sit down with me and have this conversation today. This has been a lot of fun. And to everyone who's been watching live and asking questions, it's been great to bring you into this conversation as well. So Amalia, where is the best place for folks to find you if they've been living under a rock and aren't already following you?
LinkedIn these days. I also have my newsletter, which I think I posted about most recently. So you should be able to find the link there. Also, my website is goodafconsulting.com. And in the next 2 weeks, I will actually be releasing my audit course. So an audit with me is usually $9.95 US, and it's going to be about 1/8 of the cost to get that expertise through the form of a course if people are interested. So come find me, follow along. And yeah, I'm actually really excited about that.
I'm excited for you too.
Thank you. It'll be interesting.
Wonderful. And I'm Jyll Saskin Gales. If I am new to you, you can follow me on LinkedIn, on YouTube. I also have a weekly podcast called Inside Google Ads, in addition to this PPC Zone podcast. Thank you again, Amalia. Thank you, everyone else. Our next PPC Zone event, by the way, is happening on August 7th, 2025. So more details about that coming soon, and we'll see you next time in the zone.